there, and welcome to the I Never Knew podcast, also known as Inc. This show dives into the life experiences of people who have been through it all and have come through the other side stronger, better, and triumphant. Each story is raw, authentic, and, at times, heartbreaking. One thing joins it all together: the fact that the stories can help the listener learn and grow. Hosted by life coach Maureen, she sits down each episode with a new guest who will empower the listener to set out on their self-discovery journey and start to heal. Now you'll be joined by Maureen and her special guest. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Never Knew podcast, or Inc. by Life Coach Maureen. Today, I have an amazing guest with me. We have a cool story where we've just been together along this journey. We met about 3 or 4 years ago when I first started coaching. Kevin had me on his podcast, and there's just people in this life that you just meet and you know that you know each other, or you've known each other, and we had the same kind of parental figures, and we just on a soul level love one another, connect with one another, and he is such an amazing man when I tell you what he's doing and all about him. So Kevin is the founder and CEO of Laugh4aPurpose Podcast, and he started some amazing things outside of the podcast. He's a multi-time suicide survivor. After spending numerous times in and out of a mental health facility, Kevin needed to find an outlet to be able to talk about mental health, which we always encourage, in a way that makes other people feel comfortable, and he hit the comedy stage. Once the pandemic hit in 2020, then Laugh4aPurpose moved from comedy shows to an all-out media company, from not only his website, but hitting the ground running on all social media platforms, using streaming services such as Twitch, and hosting one of the most successful mental health podcasts out there today, which I love. In March of 2022, Baskets for a Purpose was founded in a way to share anxiety tools and books with families all over the world to help families who struggle with anxiety, ADHD, and autism. In June 2022, they released an anxiety journal published and sold on Amazon. We'll show you guys where to get that later. And today, oh my gosh, today they've reached over 2 million visitors and have over 20,000 total social media followers, and continue to remind people that you are not alone. It's okay not to be okay, and you are loved. So without further ado, welcome my good friend Kevin.
I am honored. I am so glad to see you doing this. You should have been doing this a long time ago. But yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, you inspired me. You inspired me to just go for it and to not fear the things that we don't know, mine being technology. And you are a wonderful example of doing things that we're afraid of, and how much you've overcome. I mean, when we talked, and we've gone through stuff together. I remember just our first podcast, we talked about your story, and I remember, a few months later, maybe even a year later, you reached out and said, "Hey, Maureen, what's a panic attack feel like?" And we walked through that. And guys, an even extra special thing is Kevin reached out and asked if I would mentor him as a life coach, and he is now a certified life coach.
Yes, that was exciting. And you're right, that panic attack, and like, who would have thought that you can have a panic attack because everything's going right, and you asked me, you said, how is everything? And finances were good, marriage was good, kids, everything was great. But it was just, I was so busy waiting for the bottom to drop out. I was so in my mind saying, I don't deserve this. It's not that self-sabotage,
Yes.
And, ever since then, it was like, okay, I can deal with this. pat myself on the back. And that's kind of like, from that conversation, I've kind of had the new mantra of, it's self first is not selfish, right?
That's
And
right.
I've kind of been living that way just from that conversation. So yeah, we've been through a lot. you know I, I wanted a life coach on the show, reached out, and the baskets are great, but not only baskets, but so many families have your books from the baskets because you've helped out. You've donated so many books, and we've seen how that affects people. So yeah, people are drawn in your life. I go to there's one or two reasons why people come into your life. It's a lesson or a blessing.
Yes,
And,
yes.
you've definitely been a blessing to our lives and part of the family. So to see you now doing this is it's fantastic.
Well, couldn't do it without my people by my side, especially my special souls like you, Kevin. That we keep each other going. We check on one another. We make sure that we're not going to get away from one another. We're going to reel each other in and make sure, hey, you're good, you're amazing, and I've got you. So tell me what you think at your lowest point of feeling all those moments of being suicidal and being inpatient in the hospital. Tell me, what did that feel like? And if there's someone feeling that right now, what can you tell them that gives them some hope to keep going?
It's almost, and I talk to people about it, it's almost numbing, right? You feel so low that you don't feel anymore. And you're there and you're almost like, I'm not sad, I'm not happy, you just don't feel. It's how it was with me. I think I cried every tear, so I was dry, so it was just a sense of numb. You just kind of were lost and no hope. No hope. Not, it wasn't, some people say you had no hope for the future. It wasn't that. It was no hope for today and no hope for tomorrow, right? You just didn't want to move. You didn't want to do anything. And people get stuck in their lives, and the thing is I think a lot of people won't explore why, because they don't want to know. It's scary to figure out why, and my thought, again, that self-sabotage and that, masculine toxic life, you just feel like you have to be the best. You can't mess up. And the thing that we do at Laugh4aPurpose is let people know it's okay not to be okay. And that's the first thing you got to realize, and also people aren't going to fix you. And I think the biggest thing is that we need to worry about is the people around us. We need to look at our circle. I cut a lot of people out of my life when I worked on me, and that includes my dad. I cut him out completely. And people are like, but that's your dad, don't you love him? Yeah, I love my dad. Just because I cut you out of life doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means I started loving myself. And you have to do that. So when you get in this mode and you get in that depression and you get to where you've lost hope, you really first have to take a step back and look at your life. And you have to see what's around you. Are the people around you bringing you down? And I'm sorry if that's a spouse and that hurts, or that's a family member and that hurts. But sometimes you have to cut people out. Now, that's the number one advice that I can give people. And then realize what you want to do in life and put the 3 words, I can, I will, I must, next to it. You do that with everything in life, like even as little as feeding your kids. I can feed my kids. I know I can. It's easy to. I know I will, because I'm not going to let my kids go hungry, even if I have to. But when you make it that must, I must feed my kids, you make that everything a must in your life, then that priority is going to be better. And with me, even till today, I struggle. And I started recently. I mean, I've been in the last suicide attempt was 4.5, 5 years ago. So the house that we live in, we bought 2 years ago. And when I got it, the only reason we chose this one over another one is because the bathroom, I could go in, I could shower, I could go to the bathroom, I could take a bath, I could do everything without having to see a mirror, because the mirror's at the other side of it. Because I was so, even though I felt better, I still hated myself so much, I wouldn't look in the mirror.
Wow.
And now I literally, and I know there's studies done on it, and I never knew any of these studies. I got it from a damn TV show. I'm a huge Grey's Anatomy fan. And Amelia is a brain surgeon, and every time before her surgery, she puts her hands in a fist on her shoulder, looks up, and stands there like a superhero. And there's studies showing that doing that superhero pose gives you that mindset. You can conquer the day. And I literally every day now, I wake up, I sit on the edge of my bed, I do my I got it list. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that. I make sure in that list I add I got to make myself happy. I walk to the bathroom and I look at that mirror that I didn't want in my life, and I stare in that mirror for 30 seconds and do a superhero pose. Like, I'm going to be a superhero. And I walk out. So learn to love yourself is your first thing before you try to do anything else.
Yes, I really love the visual of that. And that's,
Yep.
it's you're visualizing something that's saying, I'm this thing. And now I can picture it, and I'm looking at what, and that's one of the things in life coaching is you're supposed to talk of what you want, not necessarily what is yet. And that's really, actually, that's a mindfulness thing is to, speak as if it's already happened. And you said you talk about the I gotta list, and I tell everyone the get to list.
Yeah.
I get to go to work. I get to deal with this family. I get to make my bed in this house that I'm blessed to have. So I really, really like that. And you're right. This is not a common cold where it's a virus and it just goes away and then maybe you get one a couple of years later. This is a continuing daily determination to say, today I'm going to be the best me I can be, and today it's okay if I'm not, and today I'm going to get through the best way that I know how. If that means just secluding and doing whatever I need to do for me, great. If I'm able to be there for others, then I will be. But like you say, your self-care has to come first, because you can't be good for anybody unless you're good for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're not good for you, it's almost hypocritical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you do not want to get treatment from a doctor who's sick.
Mm-hmm.
If your doctor had COVID, you wouldn't want him to work on you, right? So, you can't. You can love your kids. Don't get me wrong, but you can't give them the full love until you love yourself. Somebody asked me yesterday. They said, because we have our first grandbaby on the way, due in November. We just found out it's going to be a girl.
Yay!
And she's got the best guy in the world. Like, we love her fiance. He's, great job. He got his own house, like, perfect guy. So somebody asked me, they said, my daughter turned 16 this year. I'm so worried about her dating. And how did you get through it? And I said, listen, you're looking at it wrong. If you instill self-confidence in your daughter, you remind her how great she is every day. You remind her of her worth and her value. And you don't have to worry about her picking the wrong guys. You've got to instill that in your daughter. And it's one of those things that I didn't figure out until later in life. I was so worried about being protecting, and, being this protective dad. And it's like, that's not right. I didn't believe in myself, so I made the bad decisions in life. I made the decisions of running with the wrong crowd because I thought it was cool. I made the decisions of, wanting to take my life. I made the wrong decisions because I didn't love myself. And now I find self-love, and I find who I am, and I get 2 days off a week, right? Tuesday and Wednesday is my 2 days off a week. And if you look at my calendar, there's nothing on Wednesday. You would think that would be a good day to schedule a bunch of interviews. But no, that's my day for me. And if that's spending with my wife and that's spending with myself, that's my day. I just away from the whole world because I'm starting to learn to love myself and instill those values. And it makes me a better person. So if I do that with my kids, tell my kids every day how great they are, show them their value, show them their worth, the work's done. I don't have to worry about who they're going to choose in life. They're going to find somebody.
That's exactly it. And I was doing a panel last Saturday on her version. It was about parents of adult kids. And, we were talking about how we project what happened to us. So if you've been through a lot of pain and trauma, you'll project onto your kids and want to wrap them in bubble wrap. Or In my case, I enabled my daughter for years to, when she would make a mistake, I would catch her. I would put a pillow there before she fell. And I
Yep.
enabled her so much that she started using me as a crutch and would not rely on herself. And when you talked about, unfortunately, having to distance ourselves from people that are not good for us, my daughter is one of those I had to do that with, because I realized it was toxic for my energy to continue to try to help her, and she only wanted to take. And, you know, I didn't see it for what it was. I was coming from my place of projection, you know, like, I don't want to be that parent that my mom and dad were, so I'm going to be this super protective, super awesome mom. And you really kind of inhibit your kids from growing if you don't let them fall, right?
Yeah. You know, I mean, kid goes to a fridge and can't find anything they want to eat. You can't run and go get them what they want, right? You got to be like, there's stuff there, find it to eat. Because if not, what are they going to do when they go to college?
Right.
What are they going to do when they got $6 and they got to feed themselves for 4 days, you know? So, yeah, sometimes what we think is being a good parent is enabling or not teaching them later on, you know? I wanted to be that cool parent, right? Where I love your dad's great, you know, but that's not what to strive for, you know?
Yeah.
You shouldn't strive. The way I see when you're raising kids, you shouldn't strive to see how good of a parent you are. You should just worry about how they're going to turn out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would love to be the cool dad, but, you know, when I had kids, and what comes with kids is not a friendship. It's a different thing, you know? The money that I've given to my kids, I would never give to a friend. So they can't be my friends. They're my kids. I love them, you know?
Yeah.
My wife's my friend. You know, I have my friends in life. You're my friend, but my kids are my kids. And, you know, and that's what it is. It's the discipline's okay, but the biggest thing is just instill so much self-worth and self-value. You know, we're seeing every day these kids shooting, you know, these mass shootings or these school shootings or just all this going on in the world. And, you know, I don't worry about if my son gets bullied. I don't have to worry about if they're going to go try to retaliate, because I've instilled the fact that they need to know how important they are and how good they are. And it doesn't matter what other people say. You know your self-worth. You know your self-value. And again, it all goes back to that self first isn't selfish.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? I agree with you. Instilling self-esteem and self-worth. And I always say there's 3 things that have to be in 2. Self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-image. And if one of those is off kilter, then we've got something off. So we've got to work on self-confidence is how much do I believe in myself? Self-esteem is how much do I believe I bring to the world, how much worth? And self-image is what do I believe the world sees me as? What is their view of me in the world, right? So I think those 3 things, they can be off kilter, and a lot of my clients will say, I have body dysmorphia, but I'm really self-confident. And I'm like, but we can't have that. We can't have that and that. So we got to get everything in alignment, those 3 things. What do you think we could do in schools? Because I think if we started a lot earlier, instead of catching people as adults with trying to help them through therapy and life coaching, if we could do this in schools, what is an idea you would think would be a good movement for children starting younger?
Well, here's the thing with education. When you look at the kids who get a test, and for the first week of school, you have your group of kids who are doing great. They have all A's, right? And you have your B's and your C's. But the people who struggle, who have the D's and the F's, they're the ones in school who get extra attention. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who are being recognized. We bring an extra tutor in for them. We watch them go and have this, and we have all those things. And they used to have things in schools called challenge, which is like when you're accelerating, you get to go to a different class, but they're taking all that out. You know, my thought of the world is we have to stop giving participation trophies. And a lot of people disagree with me on that. But my thing is like, we are coddling those who aren't doing as well. And we're not really focusing on the ones who are. So when people are doing well and they're starting to get self-confidence, we all, no matter what we say, we all like the pat on the back. We all need that reassurance. We all want that. But the people and the kids who are doing good in life, they're not getting that pat on the back. They're not getting that. And if you look at if you do a lot of research and you look at the children who have turned out to be really bad people, they are really intelligent kids. They are thriving in school. But those kids, believe it or not, are the ones that go under the radar. And I think that the schools and the education system needs to do a better job at recognizing everybody and recognizing individuals and, bring it to the forefront. They don't, show and tell, kids got to bring in things, programs like that is separating people, because this kid's not going to be able to bring in a Nintendo 64 like this kid is because he can't afford it. So they're causing these segregations and separations at an early age with programs like that, and, I just think the teachers are not, I don't like the whole sticker thing, that they do with showing everybody. They have a sticker board, and if you've been bad, they put a red sticker on there. That's cool to do, right? I like that idea, but have it at your desk.
Yeah.
Have it in a book. Let the kid come see it, not in front of everybody else, because the teachers are creating that identity for that kid when he's on the playground. Hey, there's Timmy. He's got 3 red stickers. So he's now the bad kid to that circle of people. So, and it's not the teacher's fault. I love teachers. My daughter's going to be a teacher, and these are conversations I've had with her. It's just how education has always been and how things are working. A lot of people are doing online schooling. I'm starting to see better results from that because they don't have that classroom where they see who is bad, who is good. The teacher just mutes it and you don't know what's going on. Those are the things that are improving. I see it in my own family because we homeschool. But I think the education system just needs to step back and think and just stop for a minute and then start praising these kids more. Start telling them they're doing a good job.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because what you're saying is they're getting these negative reinforcements. So you're going to get more attention when you do bad than when you're good. And there's a lot of comparison. Like you said, that competition mentality is, I'm never good enough because there's always someone better than me. Which in life, there's always going to be someone that's doing well and doing better, or there's always someone behind you. So that's a fact of life. That's an acceptance children need to have. But like you said, if it's in your face every single day, it really makes it hard to build those self-esteems. My son is ADHD, and in school, so he ended up getting into some trouble, and then he went to a different school. He was a special school for a sort of little troublemaker that he was, but that's okay. And when he went to that other school, he excelled. Now, mind you, the high school that he was in is, I think it's the biggest in the state of Arizona, and he was doing terrible. And again, what's funny is what you say is the kids that were doing bad got attention. In this school, he was completely that kid left behind. They did not pay any attention to what he was doing. With that IEP, I had to really be there to advocate for him. I didn't know anything about it. So when he went to this other school, it was a smaller classroom. He knew what he had to do. He went in, they had a computer. He could wear headphones because he likes that extra stimulus. And he was excelling. He started a hacky sack club. So
love that.
Excuse me. So you can see what I think is we need to get away from standardized education. Let's stop doing that. Let's figure out, how do these kids learn? How do these kids learn? My son was visual. You could not sit him down and do a lecture with him or make him sit and read a book. That's not, you couldn't keep his attention. And I know with the baskets, you help the parents with the ADHD and autism and anxiety kids, and my son had anxiety as well. So they understand this. concept, like we as parents know what works for our kids. I think schools need to listen more to the parents who know what works for their children. How do we do that?
But the parents have to get more involved. So I have a friend who I had on our podcast, and we talked about anxiety in education. And a week before, she had parent-teacher conference. 3 parents came. She had 21 students, and 3 parents came. So parents need to get more involved. And I understand a lot of times now parents have to work. But you've got to prioritize. If you got an event and you're putting your work over that, what are you telling your child? And I get finances, but you've got to prioritize. And another thing that schools don't realize is you can't have emotion in school. You're excited about your A, or you're excited about your grade. You're told, this person didn't get an A, so, don't get too excited. You cry or you get angry, you're pulled out of the class because you're disrupting the class. You are not allowed to have emotions. So when you're dealing with emotions your whole life and then you get out in the real world, what are these emotions? You don't know how to control them. And if you're 18 years old and that's when you just now start learning about emotions, you're struggling. But I can remember in school times of being angry. I would either be sent to the principal or sent out to the hall. I remember times I came in crying and, hey, you're crying, you're distracting what we got going on. Let me sit you out in the hall. Let's push you away and let you figure it out yourself. I'm happy. Oh, don't be too happy because then other people are going to be sad because they didn't get, like you in school are not allowed to deal with your emotions. And I am 43, I'll be 44 this year, and I would say I was probably 35 before I learned how to work with my emotions. When I realized I'm allowed to have angry, I'm allowed to be angry, just how what do I do with that? But when you're just never allowed to have emotions, school's got you for so many hours of a day that they've got to realize it just can't be what's in the books.
Yeah. We are teaching how to have an outlet, a healthy outlet. That's why you have these kids that have this rage that builds and builds and builds and builds, and then where is it going to go? It's going to go in this violent way. And like you, I was told all through school to quit talking, and at home I was told to quit talking. So of course I didn't know how to have a voice, and of course I ended up in these controlling narcissistic relationships where I had no voice because I was taught not to have a voice. Don't speak up for yourself. Be quiet. Shut up. I think that's really good. What you said is there's nowhere to have emotion. You're not allowed to have emotion. Everything is so logistical and just do what we say when we say it. I think it would be really a healthy thing in school to have a class on mindfulness or a class on, like, I would love to go, do a class in schools. Just let's talk about mindfulness. Let's talk about healthy ways to let frustration out, healthy ways to communicate. So I don't know if you know this, but I'm now raising my 14-year-old grandson.
Fun.
So we empty nested for a couple of years, and then we got this little munchkin in. He is amazing. He's amazing. But it's funny what you said about going to the kitchen and making something. He is super emotionally intelligent, very perceptive about emotions, very sweet, very kind, and very caring. But he wasn't given very many life skills. He was living with his other grandparents, and they did everything for him. And so he came to our house, and we're like, time to be self-sufficient here, guy, and there were things that he just didn't know how to do it. And I'm teaching him how to cook, and I'm taking him to museums, and we're taking him traveling. So I think what you were saying is perfect, is we've got to get rid of the sense of entitlement with children, and they really need to be taught, figure it out, and communicate what is best for you. I think we need to really hone in on that. Tell a kid, how do you communicate? What's best for you?
You look at home economics. They teach you to bake a pie. They teach you to sew. They teach you to do this. I get that. But there's a lot of things, like teach a kid to make a sandwich. Like, honestly, just flat out, just make a sandwich, and teach him to make eggs, and quit trying to bake a cake. You know, let
Yeah.
let grandma or let mom teach you to bake a cake. Teach the things at home. Teach them to write a check. Teach them to budget. Teach them to be on the phone. And then you got health class. It's sex ed, food groups. No, like where's this? Like where are we talking about mindfulness? Where are we talking about, you know, um, meditation? Where are we talking about all these different things? We're teaching the kids sexual education in school. And we're seeing them use that practice at a young age, right?
Yep.
They're using safe sex because they learned about it, or they're having sex because they learned about it. You teach them the food groups, they learned about it. So whether they're doing it right or wrong, what you're teaching them, they're going out in the real world and doing, but we're not talking about mental health in health class.
Yep.
There should not be physical health and mental health. I should not be a mental health advocate. I should be a health advocate. But unfortunately, we're in a world where it's not. You know, and I'm on a journey now where, you know, I'm changing my diet. I'm eating right. All I drink is water and coffee, and you know, I'm doing some blood work just to figure out what I need to get health, because it's all in one. But I can tell you from 3 kids, myself and my wife, not one time in health class do you talk about mental health.
Yeah. That's why we're in this crisis, this health crisis, this mental health crisis, and I'm so excited about that new hotline that they have now. I could not believe when my husband told me that. I said, "What are you talking about?" So this is good. We're making movement. I agree with you. We need to have problem-solving classes, and we need to have emotion regulation classes.
Yes.
And because if you think about it too, Kevin, your physical health is overspill of your mental health. You cannot work out hard enough when your mental health is not healthy. You know, it's like running on empty. You hold things in, you don't let things out, and have an outlet for something. It's going to manifest somewhere in your body, whether it's cancer or heart or stomach ulcers. It's going to manifest. So the mental health really needs to be this priority, and now we're finally talking about it thanks to you and what you're doing and spreading the word. And that's how any movement works, is numbers, right? Numbers and loud voices is really where we are and what we need to do. And you're being such an advocate for this, and even outside of the just the ADHD, autism, and anxiety, it's all of it. The depression, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We can talk about it.
And with me as well is like, you know, everybody who wants to use the hashtag mental health awareness, or everybody who wants to say that they're advocate, they all have at one point going to have that same picture that says against the stigma or fighting the stigma. And the thing is, first and foremost, we have to have the voices and we have to talk about it. That's why I do it. But talking about it is not going to end the stigma. Talking about ending the stigma is not ending the stigma, right? We've got to do things. We've got to get into the schools, and we've got to argue, and we've got to fight, and we've got to be out there in the forefront, we are now, we have a tent. We have a big pop-up tent now, and we have, promotional flags that we stand up, and we've got like physical things that we now go out in the street and just set up for no reason. Like, just like a street preacher would used to set up in the day at the corner and tell people about Jesus. We'll get permission to set up somewhere, and we set up our tent, we set up that, and people are like, "What are you about?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I'm not about anything. I'm just here to let you know you're loved, you're great, you're beautiful, I love your hair." And we do that, and we go out, and when it's raining, we run to Walmart, and we grab umbrellas, and we walk people to their car, and we give them, we put their groceries in, and we talk to them, like, "Listen, how are you today? Are you happy?" Like, that question, "Are you happy?" That's a rough question to answer. And we've got to normalize that it's okay not to be happy. And we got to normalize that we can express that emotion. Unfortunately, we're in a world now where if I saw you on the street and didn't know you, and I walked up to you and said, "You look beautiful today." Within 5 minutes, my wife's going to get a text that I said you were beautiful, because we're living in a world where everybody's compliments feel like there has to be something behind it, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
and people are like, well, and my wife and I try to teach people that it's not, um, and I do a compliment project on Twitter, and I tell people their hair is lovely, they have this nice smile, and I do this in the real world, and people ask me, it's like, but what's that have to do with mental health? I'm like, a lot, because if I can walk up to a young lady or a woman at a Walmart and I can say, "Man, you really look beautiful today," I'm confident in myself that my wife's not going to care. I'm secure enough in my relationship that my wife's not going to care. That person's going to feel a way because they were complimented. I literally was on the way to in my life one day, and exactly I had it all planned, and I walked out of a store. Because I went in the store to buy a thing of Fix-A-Flat, because I was going to let all the air out of my tires so no one would take my car, right? But my wife would be able to get it with some Fix-A-Flat and get her car home, right? So, and as I was walking out, I'm a big hat guy. I love hats. And I had this hat on that I bought that I fell in love with. And I was walking out, this lady came up and she grabbed me by the shirt and she's like, "Hey," she goes, "My husband would flip over that hat. Where'd you get it?" And I told her. She's like, "That is an awesome hat." And I kind of had a little pep in my step.
Yeah.
Threw the 4 cans of Fix-A-Flat in the car. I went home. I didn't go to that bridge. I went home because I was happy all of a sudden. And all it was a hat. I like your hat. And I realized, talking to my therapist and talking to you, I've realized that compliment saved me. And that's another thing I wanted. We're so in this world that it's hard to compliment a woman without, and no offense to women, but a lot of women are scared when a man compliments them. There's a lot of women out there, if I say you have beautiful hair, they're like, "Why is he telling me that?" And that's what we got to get out of, that. And I think that takes a toll on mental health, because we're in a mental health crisis. And it's not that back when my grandparents were young, it's not that they didn't have mental illnesses back then. They did. They didn't even know they had them. A lot of them were just immediately put in a straitjacket when it was just depression. I mean, even before that, women used to be put in the mental hospital for reading novels. Like, that was back in the witch times. Like, they've never really understood mental health. But now we understand it, but we're in the biggest crisis. And I truly, truly believe part of it is how society's done it. Because back when my grandfather was young, you complimented people on how great they looked. You complimented men on how that's a nice suit,
Yeah.
My grandpa in his time would tell me stories, and he would give his friend a hug when they were leaving, and he'd give his friend a kiss on the cheek. But all of a sudden now, because I'm a man and I'm straight, and my friend's a male and he's straight, it's a little odd to hug and really odd to give him a kiss on the cheek. Well, why? Why is this stuff, And I think a lot of that takes a toll on our mental health. And I think my youngest has such bad social anxiety. It's detrimental. Like, even family events. And part of it is they've seen how society is. They've seen how society is when when somebody's a little bit different. And, going back to education, I'll say it now. Every one of you schools who say you have a zero tolerance on bully are lying. You have zero tolerance to look good. You don't have a zero tolerance, right?
Yeah.
When somebody pulls somebody's pants down in class and everybody lies and you're like, "Oh, little Jimmy, you shouldn't do that. We're going to give you the detention." No, that's not zero tolerance.
Right.
So I think a lot of it is, if the world can be better, if the world can just be, it doesn't cost to be kind. And that's what I want to teach. And that's why we go out and set up booths. just to give people hugs, let them know they're loved, you know, let them know it's okay, you know, and
It's
go
yes,
ahead.
it's life changing because you do not know, and this has always been a factor in my mind of being the voice that my younger self needed. And I always go out into the world determined that I'm going to say, I'm going to look for the beauty in people, and I'm going to compliment. My grandson and I pulled up to a drive-through the other day. I don't remember where we were going to eat, and it's not even a second take. Doesn't even take like two thoughts from me. When I see something, I say it, and I think that's what everybody needs to do. This girl gave me my food, and I just looked at her and I said, "Oh my gosh, you are so beautiful." She lit up. She lit up.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
know what people don't understand is the kinder you are to people, the more kindness you get back. So let's normalize what you said. Let's just hug each other. Let's just be kind. We should make that part of our daily planner. You know, one random act of kindness today, one compliment to a stranger today. If
And
we did that,
it doesn't have to be seen.
yeah,
I hate the videos of the guy at Walmart or Target who the lady didn't have $10, so he bought her groceries. Why is that? Why are we celebrating it?
yeah,
That should be
yeah,
the normal.
yeah.
You know, 3 days ago, Amanda and I were at Kroger, and it's kind of raining, not real bad, but it's raining. And we go in, and there is one cart inside, and it's waiting. Like you have to walk to go get it. So I'm walking to go get the cart. At the time, a lady comes in to walk to the carts. So I grabbed the cart and was like, "Here you go," and I handed it to her. She's like, "No, that's yours." I'm like, "Nope, that's yours." And I go outside in the rain, and instead of just grabbing one cart, I grab like five, you know. And when I come in, that lady is in tears hugging my wife. And I just let them have their moment, whatever was going on. At that point, it wasn't me. And the lady left. I gave her a big smile, and I asked my wife, "What was that about?" And she said that her father passed away, and she was making funeral arrangements that day, and it was a fight, you know, because unfortunately that happens a lot in families, and it was argument, and no one cared what she wanted to say. They all just overvoiced her. She got out in her car, and her car was out of gas, and she didn't know she was going to make it to the gas station. So she got to the gas station, and it wouldn't read her credit card, so she had to go up to the front and pay because the gas thing wasn't that. And then she got a call from her son, and her son told her something bad about their house, that they had to do some extra work and it was going to cost a lot of money. Nothing was going her day. And she runs in because it's raining and there's no carts. And she was just done. That was her day. And then randomly I give her a cart. And she kept saying, no, that's your cart, that's your cart. I'm like, no, just take it, like, no big deal. And she looked at my wife when I left, apparently, and said, you've got a really nice husband. And my wife's like, I do, but shouldn't everybody have done that? Like, wouldn't everybody do that? And she says, unfortunately, no. And she told my wife about her day. And then she cried, and my wife hugged her. You know? And that was her one break from the day. Her day it was a bad day for her. But she can be that one break. You know, my grandfather used to tell me years ago, be the dinner conversation of somebody that you meet. And I was like, and I asked him, what do you mean? He's like, when we sit around that dinner table, everybody's happy. Everybody loves food. That's the one time that we forget our struggles. We're eating, we're happy. We tell the stories of the good things that happen. And he always said, and I never knew what he meant until recently, he always said, he gave me two pieces of advice. One was try to be the dinner conversation of somebody every day. And the other piece of advice is anywhere you go in life, find the most important person there and introduce yourself. You never know when you meet them.
I love those. Those are great.
I thought that one was ridiculous, right? So my grandfather passed away and I was 16. And we went to this restaurant in Cincinnati. It's called Montgomery Steakhouse. The best restaurant. You can go any store in the world, buy Montgomery barbecue sauce. They are just fantastic, right? And we went there after we buried him. And I remembered what he said. I was like, I'm going to try it. So at 16, I asked for the owner. And I introduced myself, met him, and it was a cool talk. So a year and a half went by and never did it again. I thought that was just the dumbest thing in the world, you know. I brought a girl my senior year to prom, to that restaurant. And if anybody's in the serving industry at a restaurant that sells alcohol, that's where your money is, right? So here we go, me and this girl, we're teenagers, we're 17, 18. The server was not happy that he had to wait on us, right? We're not going to tip well. We're kids. We're not buying alcohol, so our ticket's not going to be that high. We are so he was not the nicest person in the world, right? So he comes back, and I'll never forget, he's like, are you guys getting desserts? And I was just a kid, and I was like, no, because I couldn't afford it. And all of a sudden, here comes the owner. And he turns around, and he's like, I remember you, your grandfather, right? And he comes over to us, and he talks to us. And I was like, yeah, you know, and he told the waiter, he's like, I'm taking care of their tab. And he goes, go get these guys a couple non-alcoholic, whatever kind of special drink. He's like, and make sure you get them the best dessert. And I walked out, and I thought, Grandpa's right. And I've done that still to the day. I go into a gas station. I say, is the manager around? I just introduce myself. You know, I got my roof replaced because of doing that. I got in car trouble, and I had a guy who came and helped me fix it from doing that. So that piece of advice worked. But the one for my mental health and the one that I started doing recently was, try to be somebody's dinner conversation.
I love that. In fact, that's going to be a really good theme for, I never knew. What Kevin is saying, you guys, is, just taking those pieces, those little nuggets of advice and really putting them into play, like you said, leaving that legacy. For me, I think the big thing is when you go out into the world, everyone is so busy looking at what's not going well and what's wrong with the world. I have decided to put filtered glasses on. When I go out into the world, all I see are the things that are working. And that really makes it easy to go out there and be kind, because you will see those people that need your kindness. You will feel that the beauty of recognizing someone and just saying some simple things. I know with my life coaching clients that I've had, when I tell them how amazing they are, they're almost shocked sometimes. They're like, wait, what? Because they're coming to me because they think they have all this stuff wrong with them. And I always say, we're going to hone in on what's right with you, not what's wrong with you. And then by focusing on what's right with you, we're going to make it even better. We're going to add on to the things that are right, and the things that aren't going so well are going to fall away, because we're going to make you more confident in who you are and accept who you are. I think that's the thing, is the world doesn't accept who they are because so many people have told them they're not good enough. They don't match up. They're not comparable to someone.
Or they're worried about, we do have narcissism, and you got to be careful, right? But I think so many people don't want to pat their own backs because they're worried about looking cocky or looking arrogant, because we've instilled that into people, and there is a fine line. Do not get me wrong. There is a fine line, but it is okay to pat yourself on the back. I tell people in life, I was like, you got to get to a point where you're willing to pat yourself on the back. But when you pat yourself on the back, your hands should slip because there's so much sweat on there because you worked at it. Right? It's okay to pat yourself on the back. And I do that every day now. I tell myself every trip around the sun is going to be a little bit better than the last. And if it is, I can take a step back and do that, And, I've done the compliment project for 2.5 years now on Twitter. Every day I tag somebody different and just compliment them. And now I do it to myself at the end of the night. Like, Kevin, you did a good job at this, and it could be so small. Man, Kevin, you actually got out of bed and took a shower today. And that's why, I've talked to you, I love the spoon theory. It's my favorite thing in the world, But if you struggle today, if you're listening and you're struggling just to get out of bed and go to work, then when you do that, tell yourself, good job that you did that. you know? And
Yeah.
just as excited as I am when somebody tells me I did a good job, I get that excited now when I can tell myself. I do. So if you're struggling to get out of bed, start telling yourself, hey, good job. Man, you got out of bed, you took a shower, good job. You're going to look forward to telling yourself good job, and then it's just going to start coming around, you know?
Yeah.
But you're going to have those days where you're allowed to say, at least you tried.
That's right. It's those daily affirmations, no matter how small they are, they're still movement. You know, as long as you're not standing still, you're moving. So as we close up, you gave us so many great things, and I know you'll be able to come up with the one last thing. So the one big nugget of what you never knew that you know now regarding your mental health, what do you think it is?
Regarding my mental health. That's a great question. That's a great question. What I didn't know, that I don't have to try to fix it. That I don't have to try to fix it. You know, we get in a world where maybe every day you cry. Maybe you're just sad. You're so worried about fixing it. And it's the same way with trying to fix others too, with mental issues, because we spent so long wanting to fix everything of ourselves. You know, if I have depression, I'll sit there in my life and say, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I shouldn't do that. But I don't have to fix it, because if the doctor told me I had stage 4 cancer, I had a month to live, I'm not going to try to fix it. I'm going to try to enjoy my life with it. So don't try to fix the depression. Let it happen. Other people will be there to help you, and don't be scared to ask for help. But also know that it's okay. And you don't always have to try to fix it. And that's the biggest thing, because I'm not broken, right? Yeah. I'm not broken. You know, that word, I've even said it too, but I'm not a big fan of it. I'm cracked.
Me neither. Yep.
I'm cracked. I've got a lot of cracks in me. But so does a stained glass window. And that's one of the most beautiful things in the world. They make it with stain. So just realize that you don't have to fix it. And love yourself. I mean, that was my biggest thing. You talked about taking steps. We have to remember, and this is a big thing too, we have to remember even a tippy toe is a step. And that's a strong thing. And I kind of leave everybody with, you know, when you're battling your demons or whatever you're battling, what are you striving for? Do you want to be well known, or do you want to be worth knowing?
Yes.
And I strive to be knowing. So
that's a wonderful thing. Let's say that again. Do you want to be well known,
or worth knowing?
Want to be worth knowing? Oh, I love that, and I love saying you are perfectly imperfect. And
yes.
If you think about this, Kevin, we did not come here as humans to be perfect. Then we would not have learned anything. We came here for a reason, and the reason was whatever experiences I've asked for, or whether it's health or mental health or physical health or parenting or whatever it is, we asked for the challenges to grow us. So if people would look at their life and say, oh, cool, this is something I asked for. What am I going to get from this? What did I want to learn and expand from this experience? Man, it sure makes accepting those harder times and those struggles a lot easier to say, okay, I'm accepting that today is a struggle, and this is going to make me better for tomorrow when I have that struggle again, or next week, or when my friend has that struggle, or my client has that. So if we look at it as this universal, I'm having experiences, you're having experiences, and we're having them to help one another, then we can be a lighter people. I think we can be a happier, lighter, and kinder people. And that's really where, you just make me light. You make me lighter just talking to you, Kevin. And so I have to end it on a light note. I ask every guest that I have, what is your shameless self-indulgence? And I think I know what it was because you've sent me pictures, but we'll see if it's changed. So your shameless self-indulgence.
I don't know if it's the same thing I see your pictures on, but mine is bourbon.
Yeah.
Yep, mine's bourbon. I'm one of those people. Again, I always talk about my grandpa, right? I always thought it was the cool, the old movies with grandpa where the guy would come in the house, he'd put his hat up on a wall, take his suit jacket off, and he had that bourbon right by his door, right? And I've got that now. I've got my little bourbon cart right by my door, and I never got into it because it seemed like I worried what people thought. I worried if you came to my house, you thought I was an alcoholic, and I had to get rid of that worry. And now it's just like, it's gone from just tasting different ones to now that I'm in this new thing where I buy really, really cheap bourbon. And then I buy these things that you can put in bourbon and then you store it and you can add your own flavoring and you leave it for 6 weeks. And I smoke bourbon, not like cigarette smoke, but like with wood pellets. So yeah, bourbon is definitely my indulgence.
That's what we were talking about, listeners, is he sent me this cool video of this smoking fancy. I mean, I was like, you know what? I love you, Kevin, because you're all in or all out. And this is like, when he went with the bourbon thing, it was like, I kept saying, you fancy, look at this. I mean, it's cool, but I love that we have these shameless, self-indulgent things that we do. And I love it, whether it's food or whether it's an activity that you like or whatever. I think everybody needs to have that thing that says it's mine and it's mine alone and it brings me joy, and who cares what anybody else thinks. So I adore you and I thank you so much for being my guest, for everything that you do in this world to spread the joy and to really, really help others understand that mental health is something we all deal with, and we all are there for one another. And I think you left us with some wonderful, wonderful pieces. Be the conversation at the dinner table for someone else. So I love you, buddy. And
love you. It's been awesome.
I will definitely talk at you soon. Let us know anything new that's coming up for you and where to find your podcast and your books and your website if people want to contribute to the baskets. Take it away.
You can go to laugh4aPurpose.com/baskets. You can see everything there. But just go to Laugh4aPurpose.com. Everything's there. All my social medias are Laugh4aPurpose. And we're also got a new thing on our site where you can find us out in the public. We're listing places that we're going to be, and we would love you to come and just interact with us. And I am only new is I am starting to book to go out and do motivational speaking. So I'm excited about that. And if you are on Twitter on Wednesday nights, I have a motivational space at 8:00 every Wednesday night where I mute everybody's mics, so it's not interactive and it's just me, 15 minutes of high energy motivation. So, but yeah, you can find me everywhere.
Nice, guys. That is like a have to. That should be on one of your get to lists. Is Wednesday night, schedule it so you have this awesome like motivational speech from Kevin, because he can lift you and he's interesting and he's charismatic and he's fun and he's just a loving, wonderful man. So I'm happy to be on this journey with you and to be lucky enough and blessed enough to have you in my world. So I thank you, and you enjoy the rest of your week, and we shall be in touch. Go on to Laugh for a Purpose, guys, and follow Kev, okay? He needs more followers. Give him 5-star reviews. Go support him because he deserves it.
Appreciate it.
All right, honey. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Thank you for tuning in to the I Never Knew podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring and educational, please be sure to follow, subscribe, and spread the word. The more people that join the Inc. community, the more it can develop and influence others as we work together for a healthier and brighter future. Until next time.